One of the very few things that we have in our life is self-respect. And one of the things which I cannot emphasize enough to you is lose whatever you want. Do whatever you want. But the moment you lose your self-respect, the moment you lose your sense of pride, you're through. Absolutely through. I mentioned that I'm not going to retweet and review and republish and repost and things from the left, except when there are indicia, which is the plural of indicium, indications of the complete and total collapse of the media. And I am telling you, I would rather die. I mean, actually, like a bug over a match, than to beg somebody to, quote, give me some kind of a job, or for me to say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Joe and Meager are the vilest, lowest, absolutely the most putrescent of sidewinders and just this, the lowest of the low, going to beg on bended knee to kiss the ring, kiss the foot, and kiss the ass of President Trump. I would rather die. I would say, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't go on television and say how horrible this man is, how terrible this man is. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then go after this and then beg him? Beg him for what exactly? I can't do it. Cannot do it under any circumstances whatsoever. This is the thing which I don't know how to explain to people. This is the part which you either have to, either you understand it or you don't. I have self-respect. I don't care. You have no idea how I will not kiss the ass of anyone I have been, refused to attend, will not attend things and events when people line up to kiss the ass of somebody. I cannot do it. No matter what. I'm not going to go into detail of what I have turned down, but I can't do it even if no one sees me. I've got my pride. I have to live with myself. I can't do this. These people have no soul, especially her. Especially her. My God. We're going to be talking about that. And also, have you heard about the ATACMS system? This is going to bring us into World War III. Have you heard that? Oh, you hear that one? Vaccine talk now is through the roof again. We've got Joe going back when he's talking about his son who has Asperger's. And years ago, Joe said exactly what Bobby Kennedy said. But now that Joe sold his soul to the devil, he's changed his mind. Get ready. I'm very, very, very upset tonight at these people. And by the way, little heads up, if you're not a critical thinker, this may not be the place. So make sure you're subscribed to Lionel Nation. Make sure you're here because 87% of those people who watch us are not subscribed. But first, my friends, this important word from this important sponsor. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you checked your devices for malware? Malware attacks have increased 643% since 2020, with approximately 10 million personal and corporate devices compromised with data stealing malware in just the last year alone. Additionally, 19.8% of computers face at least one malware attack annually. This emphasizes the critical need for individual users to protect themselves, their devices, and their data. This is why I use today's sponsor, Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, and I love the peace of mind it gives me. Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro is an award-winning antivirus with real-time protection, malware removal, ad blocking, scheduled scans, multi-device protection, and more that stops malicious downloads in their tracks. Without Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, I would risk my finances, banking details, personal data, and more getting into the hands of cyber criminals. Thanks again to Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro for sponsoring today's extravaganza. And do yourself a favor and sign up for a free 7-day free trial, of Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro during their early Black Friday sale happening now, and get up to 75% off. Yes, you heard that. Up to 75% off. Only at virtualshield.com/Lionel. Once again, that's virtualshield.com/Lionel. When you kiss your ass, you're very limber. When you kiss the arse of someone else, when you become a lickspittle, a bootlicker, a sycophantic toady, when you are a suck-up, when you are you lose your soul. Let me tell you a little story about Mika Brzezinski. Mika Brzezinski was born the daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski, who always thought she was a dummy. Her brother was kind of the smarter one. She got a brother. I think he became like ambassador of, I think it was ambassador of Japan, Sweden and Switzerland, whatever it was. So he was, they were, but she was just the numbnuts. She wanted so much to be important. She did a tour one time with Ariana Huffington that I think they had to stop because nobody gave a damn. She would, I don't know what, I don't know. She's, what's the word? Full of shit. Pardon my French, but that's what it's called. That's an expression. FOS, my friends, or actually FS because a preposition is. In any event, so she always wanted to be that. Always couldn't figure out what it was that she was trying to do. Now, Joe Scarborough, I used to be on his show all the time. I was doing a show on WOR at like 9, I think his show was on 9 o'clock. And when his show would start off, I would just watch with my producer, Pete, and Pete Conlon, Beverly Hills. And we would watch this and laugh at this show, laugh hysterically because it was so corny. It was on MSNBC called Scarborough Country. And it started off with this Scarborough Country. And it was a flyover, I think before they had drones. And it was a beautiful community with a white steeple, and it was Americana, and they were pulling up, the flag. It's a Scarborough Country, America, conservative Reagan, Ronald Reagan, Scarborough Country. And we would laugh. And he would say, Ronald Reagan. And he went to Capitol Hill. Remember, he was a congressman in the Panhandle, and then there was this woman who had a tragic accident or death or whatever it was in his office. He was not linked to it, but it was always kind of weird, and nobody really knows the story. Right around the time of Gary Condit, kind of, either it happened during the time of Gary Condit or people talked about it. In any event, he was just like, okay, after Imus had the problem, he moves in and begs these people, pleads to sucker, put me on. Okay, somehow they hook up with Mika or Zika, the Zika virus. Now, she was married, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew he was tagging that. I mean, everybody knew it. Remember this. There is the internet you see. There are the news stories you see. And then there are these other sites and blinds and people, and you know what's going on. That is the most fantastic. That you can't really go on and explain. but it's by far the most interesting in any event. So I don't know if she was married. Who knows? She leaves. And her affect at first was, I called her the turd, the punch bowl. And one time I remember talking to Joe on the phone, kind of off the air, and I said, you really have to do something about this. This is when we were buddies. I was on one time with, I think it was on with, they would come to my I was doing WOR at the time. They would bring a camera. We would do this stuff. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. But I guess they changed her. I was attacking her too much because she's just FOS, baby. And I said, she's a turd in the punch bowl. Her whole thing is, stop it. Just stop it. And I told him, I said, why do you have this? You have this great, great show. It really was good at first. It was really good. It was balanced, and people were friendly, and it was fun. And it was a different thing. Then you bring in the, Fabissima face, and she became, stop it. Would you stop it? You boys will be boys. She's the turd in the punch bowl. I said, she's awful. Anyway, make a long story short, that image came up. Now, then he became liberal. Not just liberal, but sycophantic liberal. And who did he have on? He had on Mike Barnacle, who actually was alleged to have plagiarized from George Carlin. Did you ever see this one? Of all the people, Mike Barnacle, this is what I do. See what I'm doing? This is called research. Mike Barnacle, Carlin, plagiarism, right? Just not it. Mike Barnacle, fraud and plagiarist. Mike Barnacle's told to resign. Boston Globe's Mike Barnacle told to resign. Carlin's work. This is the guy they've got on. Then they had on that these other numbnuts. Donnie Deutsch, who is, pardon my French, please please forgive me. I'm saying this more because it used to be a good word. Mentally retarded. Donnie Deutsch is a fool. Donnie Deutsch is all bluster. I don't know who he is. I think he inherited an advertising company or something from his parents. I don't know. He's an idiot. He is absolute idiot. So you got him, you got the plagiarist, and you have as many people. Was Jonathan Capehart on? Jonathan Capehart, who's turning, I don't know, he's going to just, whatever. So it just turned into nothing. I was on one time, and it was on the show during that Je suis Charlie, or as my friend called him, Jesus Charlie. Je suis Charlie. Until last time I was on, she came out. You walk onto the set, she comes out. She has to be seen, at least then. I don't watch, but now. But she walks over. She has to hug you. So all these people, what is it? Big studios. Big studios are big. What is this? Why all these people? Anyway. You wait in the green room and you do this stuff, and it's too much. So anyway, so she comes over, and she has to be seen on camera walking over and hugging you, meaning this is my show and I'm the mom or whatever it is. Okay, fine. So as I sit down, here was my position. Follow me on this. Number one, nobody has the right to kill anybody. Thank you. Would you please write that down, please? Thank you. So profound. Nobody has the right to kill anybody else. Nobody has a right to kill anybody because of the fact that they say something about your religion. It is absolutely verboten. But if you are in a country where they tell you, if you do this, if you paint pictures, cartoons of Muhammad, we will kill you. We will stab you and leave you in the street like a dirty dog. You understand that? And you say, but that's wrong. And they say, I don't give a goddamn whether it's right or wrong. If you do that, we're going to cut you down and stab you in the heart, treat you like a dirty dog. You understand what we're saying? Do you understand that? So when it happens, this is what my point is. Don't be surprised. It's wrong. Be careful. But why are you doing this? Why, out of the entire panoply of all the things you could possibly say, it is critical for you to continue to attack these people when these sick bastards have told you they're going to kill you. Does that make sense? Do you understand that? Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to you. Makes sense to me. That's simple. Oh my God, people went crazy. How dare you? And I said it I started off, I said, you have no right to do this. You shouldn't do this. And our good friend Sparky says Big Dev was an evil component of Jimmy Carter's administration. He started that mess in Afghanistan, which led to the 1980 Olympic boycott. A teammate missed his chance at the 1980 Olympic 100 meters. You know, Sparky, that, and you're very, very correct with it. Do you know that he is not, by the way, a neocon? He would shite if he could see what is happening regarding Israel. He is considered, as Big Nev considered himself, he was like this kind of an intellectual, sort of. I don't know if he got tenure or something at Harvard. In any event, he had some of his own issues, but he was like just. But his position was simply this: he believed, he was not a neocon. He hated Russia because he's Polish, because of what Russia did to Poland. I had a friend of mine who was Polish, and he said, what did he say? We were one time at this Irish bar. He had a good load on it. Somebody said, if it wasn't for us, y'all be speaking German. He said, no, we'd be speaking Russian. I'm saying, what? I mean, the Polish and the Russians, oh, dear God. So Zbigniew Brzezinski, pardon my French, had a hard-on for Russia. And he said, I want to make Afghanistan Russia's Vietnam. I want to make, this is the empire, the graveyard of empires. I want that to happen. And they said, but don't you understand? Listen to this, Sparky, you'll love this. Don't you understand that what you're doing is you're enraging, you're calling these people to come up out of the, in order to, of the Taliban and others, and they will, in response, they will exact furor against Israel. And he said something to the effect of, it is a mosquito prick or something. Basically, he said, I don't give a damn about Israel. I want to get Russia. Don't give me. And he had no time for the Israeli lobby. None. That had nothing to do. Middle East had nothing to do. He wanted Russia. Got it? Okay. Sparky, when Jimmy Carter was president, two things they told him. One, he's going to be your National Security Council guy. And number two, Paul Volcker is going to be your Fed chairman. And that's when interest rates was like 20%. So that's a long story. Remember, Jimmy Carter, one of the most honorable people, one of the worst presidents ever. Okay. One time, Mrs. Ellen and I were at a Saturday matinee, Broadway, and it was about Amy Semple McPherson, and it was put on by Kathy Lee Gifford. I think Kathy Lee Gifford was the producer or something like that. So anyway, and it was a fascinating, a story. Amy Semple McPherson, she died in 1944. She was just 53 years old. She was one of the biggest things you have ever seen in your life. And it is, let me see here. I wonder why she died. I'm always fascinated by how young people, why they die. What is the story? Their death. Let me see. Failing mystery. This. Just give me a second. Oh, her failing health. Oh, faith healing. Excuse me. I saw failing health. Sorry about that. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Hang on. What a story. My reported kidnapping. Remember this one? Extramarital affairs. It was this wild story, resurrecting her career. Anyway, to make a long story short, it was this play that they did. Oh, death. She was found unconscious with pills in a half bottle of capsules. Appears to be some kind of it's the autopsy revealed a heart attack probably caused by an overdose of sleeping pills. Well, that's a nice way of saying it. You had a heart attack because you killed yourself with the sleeping pills. Okay, so to make a long story short, there we were on Saturday. Pilgrim says we were so happy the Gipper was elected in 80. We certainly were. I wasn't as much then, but in retrospect, I understand it. So anyway, it was a matinee. Here comes Meager. She was like a little bit late, and she's sitting. Everybody was seated. It wasn't curtain time yet, but she walks down, and she wanted everybody to see her. So she sees somebody she's talking about. I don't know who it is in the middle of the aisle, and she bends down and she does one of these. Hey, how are you? Hey, look. And so everybody's saying, look at me. Look at me. Everybody goes, I don't know what I think it is. Hi. She was just such a phony. Then when she married Joe, she figured, we're going to be the best. It's going to be the biggest thing. And to be fair, in DC, among the rats basically in the deep state, they love her. And I think they love CNN. They watch that morning Joe. They do. Absolutely. In the little archives, you know who's the biggest flop today? Rachel Maddow. 1 day a week. I don't know what the hell that's about. Nobody works 1 day a week. Why they even have her on something? That story doesn't make any sense in any event. So they're doing this stuff, and she thought we're going to be the biggest. There was one picture where she was on, I think it was a Vanity Fair, where she had her leg up in the air. She's on a piano, like, look at me, how sexy I am. And Joe's like this. Okay, all right. Freedom says, why are these sleazeball news networks all want to be buddy-buddy now with Trump? They talk trash forever about you, sir. They're evil. Absolutely, because it's all bullshit. It's bullshit. Joe, she thought she's going to be the biggest thing. They're going to love her. They're marrying these two people, these two powerhouses. She had a little, what was it? I think it was in DC or New York. I forget, but it was this wedding party. Like nobody showed up. Jonathan Capehart and Chris Wallace or somebody, like it was nothing. Nobody cared. And there she was. Look for that picture. She's on a piano. And Joe's looking like this, like, okay, all right. She's got her leg up in the air. How sexy I am. She wants so much to be sexy. Joe was playing guitar everywhere. Joe had a band. And Joe's not bad, by the way. And she would always show up and they would say, Joe Scarborough he's playing his band. I think the cutting room might have been there. I don't even know. But there she was. Hey, look at me. I'm the girlfriend. I'm the gal. They thought they would be it never took off. Now, when Trump was elected in 2016, they absolutely deluged. They wanted to meet with Trump all the time because they heard that Trump was going to form some kind of a media company. And they were crazy. They are absolutely, positively the most shameless people ever. Normally, you might want to have like your agent work something out, but Trump's the kind of guy who says, "Okay, make the pilgrimage, and I can ignore you," because Trump loves for you to come and kiss his ring. Trump is an emperor, and we want that. Trump is the king, and we want that. That's how Trump is. Basically, Trump told them to pound sand, and then they started. Okay, now that they've lost. And they were destroying. They had to up the anger to such a level nobody even thought it possible. So now that he's won, now they're going back with not with hat in hand, but blatantly, obviously showing that they have no sense of couth or honor. It's disgusting. They are, as Hillbilly says, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. But my friends, it's even worse. It's even worse. Everything is falling apart. Nobody gives a rat's ass about Rachel Maddow. Now, when Rachel Maddow first came on board, we were working together at this Air America, which was a very nice place, but they just didn't understand anything about radio. But when she left, and she went to MSDNC, and I swear to God, she was the hottest ticket in town. Women, I hate this expression. I've got a girl crush. I've got a girl. It makes me sick. But women were absolutely going nuts over her, almost quasi-romantically, because she looks like she was. And we were. She's a very nice person, very. And when you see her on TV, this is one of them. She is so dressed up compared to the way she normally is. She would walk around in like these dungarees, not dungarees, but like railroad pants. Like, and I was interviewing somebody. I'm not going to mention his name, but you might mention it. And he says, boy, he was talking about, boy, that, he says, do you know Rachel Maddow? I said, well, I know her, but I mean, boy, I'd like to meet her. I said, are you? Because I think he saw her on TV. I said, have you ever met? She's, I mean, I think we knew she was sapphic. I don't think you call her not, but she's lesbian. She's anyway. I thought people knew. I don't know if he did. I thought he did. So anyway, he says, boy, she's. I said, well, that's the way she looks on TV. Very, very glamorous. I said, but in regular life, she's very, very. She dresses kind of like an engineer on a freight train. She really does. She wore like very, very. I don't want to say mannish. That doesn't work. But very like rustic. So anyway, and he says, really? So yeah, and lo and behold, I said to him, dummy up. She walked by. He said, why? I said, because this is Rachel Maddow. His head turned so fast, almost like he goes, that's? I said, yeah. I mean, it's not hideous, but I'm saying she really, really had her style, and her style was like an engineer, like a brakeman on a Jimmy Rogers, video. Anyway, she was the hottest thing around. She writes the world's worst books. And then she just said, screw this. I'm going to be on one time a week. One. She also double-crossed and gave a shaft right between the shoulder blades to Keith Olbermann, because Keith Olbermann brought her on. And then when they realized this guy, Olbermann was like so strange. He would have rules that said, I won't talk to people. Really bad news. Just a real prick. Sparky says, Baby Scarborough named names about the giant media conspiracy to Trump. No. He knows nothing. Trump basically says, pound sand. If you want to come here, I will get the biggest kick out of showing the world that you came to meet with me. You flew to Mar-a-Lago, where I'm going to say, thank you, but no thank you. They didn't say they had lunch. They mad. They're pathetic. The bottom line is, Sparky and everybody else, you knows this. It's over. It's over. Not only, well, first of all, it's the message, but it's over in terms of what really matters. It matters. It's critical. Let me explain something to you. There is something which is the most, somebody mentioned Scott Ritter was on with my good friend, the great Judge Napolitano. And they're talking about ATACMS, Army Tactical Missile Systems. And what I want you to listen carefully. It looks like they're either doing this or Joe is signing off on this. But they're basically telling Joe, we're going to leave Trump a mess. And Russia said, if these weapon systems enter into, I think they go 140 miles into Russia, they can only be positioned, programmed, weaponized, fired by, run by whatever, by U.S. government sources, if you will. Okay? Okay. They're the only ones who can do this. Nobody else. Nobody. Okay, you got it? Okay. Nobody. They said, if something happens to us, if you dare, if you fire into us, whether it hurts us, it's going to get serious. And Kyiv is going. And it may not be a nuclear, but it will be a thermobaric something. Mr. Ritter is most conversant with this and speaks a wonderful language as to what is going on. In any event. So, this is critical, and this is important, and this is because what scares me is they are going to do something before they leave. And they're going to hand Trump, it looks like, or I shouldn't say, I don't know for sure, but it looks very much like they're going to hand President Trump a world of shite. Watch this.
Actually sent a draft treaty that they wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement.
This is what the story is. And I'm going to tell you right now that there is an entry on my Twitter account that you must bookmark, watch, memorize. I will find it for you. That is Jeffrey Sachs providing some of the most important and critical information that you have to know as a citizen of the world. Let me get this for you, Ron, before I forget. You must remember this. Watch it. I've watched it. I watch it 10, 15, 20 times. It's not very long, but it's one of the best perorations, one of the best adumbrations, one of the best reviews. Here we go. I'm going to put this here. This is it. Here's the link. And I'm going to tell you right now to make sure that you watch this. Whatever you do, watch this. If you don't get X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, you're making a big mistake. But understand the purpose. Putin has said from the beginning, you are not going to have NATO on my border. You're not going to do it. He said this from the beginning. And and when you watch Sachs's review, you get to see how patient Russia has been heretofore.
That was what he sent us. And that was a precondition for not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that. So he went to war to prevent NATO, more NATO close to his borders.
Flashback.
This is fundamentally not about NATO expansion.
It was never about NATO enlargement.
It's not about NATO.
It's not about NATO expanding toward Russia.
This was never about NATO.
It's absolutely nothing.
By the way, you see this woman here? I forget her name. I forget her name. What is her name? She blocked me from Twitter. She blocked me. I don't even know who she is. I mean, I know who she is, but she blocks me. I'm such anathema to her. She blocked me.
About NATO?
It's absolutely nothing to do with NATO expansionism.
And it has nothing to do with NATO.
This is not about NATO.
It's not about NATO.
It's not really about NATO.
Look at this. Do you see who that was? The brow.
This is not about NATO.
Seriously?
And there's Anna Emphysema from the Young Turds. There she is. She's even following the party line.
It's not about NATO.
This was never about NATO.
It was never about NATO. Let's be honest.
This doesn't have anything to do with NATO.
Nothing to do with NATO at all.
Everything
he's claiming it's like security purposes, but we can see the clear reason.
This is why it's over.
The reason.
This is not about NATO
These
expansion.
are lies.
This is about the democratic expansion.
Ukraine bans religious organizations.
We are protecting democracy right now.
Ukraine is banning political parties.
Because it's a democracy.
Ukraine restricts books and music.
It's about democracy.
Ukraine won't hold elections.
It's about democracy.
And it's not about NATO expansion.
This war in Ukraine is not about NATO. It's
Not about NATO.
That's not about NATO.
It has nothing to do.
Remember, this is left and right and CNN and Fox when the young turds and Lindsey Graham agree
With NATO.
Nothing to do with NATO expansion.
It's not about NATO expansion.
Nothing to do with NATO. It isn't really about NATO. It's not about NATO.
It's not about NATO enlargement. In fact, it has nothing to do with NATO.
It's not about NATO encroaching.
It's not about NATO. NATO is just...
You see this? This is why, let me just say that this is why all of this is collapsing, because this is a lie and you can't tell one side from the other. These are apparatchiks. These are proxies that were spewing this garbage out from the shadow government, the international globalist cabal.
It's a fictitious, imaginary adversary for Mr. Putin and for Russia. It was never about NATO.
That's not what it's been about. It's been about him trying to expand his sphere of influence.
Hang on, I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive. Obviously, Russia has wished for a sphere of influence over Ukraine, but if the West had not challenged Russian interests so directly, I think that there was a chance to avoid this war.
Unbelievable.
He wanted us to sign a promise never to enlarge NATO. We rejected that.
Now, let me explain something to you. Let me see if I can bring you up to speed with this. This is exactly what it is. Now, when you tell people, I want you to listen carefully. This is why you should turn Fox News off. They are the same when it comes to Ukraine, Zelensky, and Israel. It's identical. The left and the right. I understand. We saw this during the war, dare I say, what am I trying to say? During the for lack of a better word, during the first Gulf War, when Phil Donahue was fired from MSDNC then because he dared to speak against war. Let me say this again. The left and the right don't exist anymore. All heritage cable news in particular is collapsing. Nobody is paying attention to this. Nobody. Now, let me explain to you. This is important. A man who is a hack but couldn't care less is Piers Morgan. He does do some good stuff with serial killers. And Bernard Giles is the best interview I've ever heard, or what Bernard Giles said about why he killed. That's a different story. Piers Morgan is a hack. He's a phony. He's a jadrul. He'll do whatever you want. He's great at spewing the obvious. He's kind of a flag waver and a kind of a no shit obvious Nick. Okay. Now listen to him. Here he is with Jeffrey Sachs.
Very reliant on
And Jeffrey Sachs is a genius. Jeffrey Sachs is on with Judge Napolitano. God bless the good judge. He is this piece I did. I'm going to do it one more time. This is it. Oh, here's the link now. Make sure you get this. Make sure you get this and you watch this. This is the best lecture on the history of what happened. You won't believe it. You won't believe the lies they've told you. But this is Piers Morgan, the hack, the jadrul. It's a work. He's a Miazark. He's a mark. He's not Smiazart. He's not smart. He is kayfabe, but doesn't know it. Okay, all my wrestling friends, watch this.
You seem very reliant on accepting Putin's worldview
Putin.
rather than perhaps the stark reality of the barbarism with which he's executed this war.
Bullshit.
Yeah, maybe because I know too much about the United States, because the first war in Europe after World War II was the U.S. bombing of Belgrade for 78 days to change borders of a European state. The idea was to break Serbia, to create Kosovo as an enclave, and then to install Bondesteel, which is the largest NATO base in the Balkans, in the Southwest Balkans. So the U.S. started this under Clinton, that we will break the borders, we will illegally bomb another country. We didn't have any UN authority. This was a, quote, NATO mission to do that.
Yep.
Then I know the United States went to war repeatedly, illegally, in what it did in Afghanistan.
Are you listening?
And then what it did in Iraq, and then what it did in Syria, which was the Obama administration, especially Obama and Hillary Clinton, tasking the CIA
Pierce doesn't have a
to
clue.
overthrow Bashar
It's not a clue.
al-Assad. And then what it did with NATO illegally bombing Libya to topple Muammar Gaddafi.
Yep.
And then what it did in Kiev in February 2014. I happened to see some of that with my own eyes. The U.S. overthrew Yanukovych together with right-wing Ukrainian military forces. We overthrew a president.
Yes.
And what's interesting, by the way, is we overthrew Yanukovych the day after the European Union representatives had reached an agreement with Yanukovych to have early elections, a government of national unity, and a stand down of both sides. That was agreed. The next thing that happens is the opposition, quote unquote, says we don't agree. They stormed the government buildings.
Tell him, Jeff.
And they deposed Yanukovych. And within hours, the United States says, yes, we support the new government. It didn't say, oh, we had an agreement. That's unconstitutional what you did. So we overthrew a government, contrary to a promise that the European Union had made. And by the way, Russia, the United States, and the EU were parties to that agreement. And the United States, an hour afterwards, backed the coup. Okay, so everyone's got a little bit to answer for. In 2015, the Russians did not say, we want the Donbass back. They said peace should come through negotiations.
Yes.
And negotiations between the ethnic Russians in the east of Ukraine and this new regime in
This is
Kiev
what Americans get lost
led to the Minsk II agreement.
Critical.
The Minsk II agreement was voted by the UN Security Council unanimously.
Yes.
It was signed by the government of Ukraine. It was guaranteed explicitly by Germany and
Anybody ever
France.
tell you this?
And you know what? And it's been explained to me in person. It was laughed at inside the U.S. government.
Look at Pierce's face.
This is after the UN Security Council
doesn't know what the hell he's
unanimously accepted it. The Ukrainians said, we don't want to give autonomy
This is why
to
they're
the region.
dead.
Oh, but that's part of the treaty.
doesn't
The
understand
U.S.
this.
told them, don't worry about it. Angela Merkel explained in Die Zeit, in a notorious interview after the 2022 escalation, she said, oh, you know, we knew that Minsk II was just a holding pattern to give Ukraine time to build its strength. No.
A clue.
Minsk II was a UN Security Council
Minsk II.
unanimously adopted
It was Minsk
treaty
I.
that was
Who's
supposed to
Minsk?
end the war. So when
Minsk
it comes to who's trustworthy, who to believe, and so forth, I guess my problem, Piers, is I know the United States government. I know it very well. I don't trust them for a moment. I want these two sides actually to sit down in front of the whole world and say, these are the terms. Then the world can judge. Because we could get on paper clearly for both sides of the world, we're not going to overthrow governments anymore, the United States needs to say. We accept this agreement, the United States needs to say. Russia needs to say we're not stepping 1 foot farther than whatever the boundary is actually reached. And NATO's not going to enlarge. And let's put it for the whole world to see. You know, once in a while, treaties actually hold.
Is that beautiful or what? Now, people will say, to Pierce's credit, some of you said this, to Pierce's credit, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. What do you mean to his credit? Pierce is thinking, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. What the fuck are you talking about? Sparky says MSNBC couldn't come through with a 2024 establishment win. They've outlived their usefulness. So all the establishment money was suddenly cut off. In the deed, but yes, but Sparky, the real reason more than anything else is it's not profitable. And the reason why it's not profitable is because of the message. Look, during, you may not, I'm sure you remember this, during the period of time when the Smothers Brothers were, it was this wonderful Smothers Brothers comedy hour. Steve Martin was one of the writers. I think maybe Rob Reiner might have been a writer. But Mason Williams, who wrote Classical Gas, was on it. Steve Martin. They made some questions or some comments regarding Vietnam. Well, they were canceled immediately. When they stayed on, the country said, we don't want this anymore. We want this. We don't want hawkish, right-wing, John Wayne, America love it or leave it, General Westmoreland lies. That's what happened. But it's different now. It's different. Let me also explain something to you. I don't want to use this not to scare you, but to scare you. Start getting scared. They said specifically, and believe me, these people are so pissed off. They are talking, Newland and others, and they say, we want a war. Here you go, Mr. President. Here you go, Mr. President. It's like senioritis. Remember when you were in high school and they let the seniors off a little early because they didn't want the seniors to destroy things? That's what this is going to be. Joe has no idea what he's doing. And they have this new system, this ATACMS, this Army Tactical Missile System. And Putin said, I'm telling you, we will evaporate Kyiv if you do this. Nuclear, maybe low yield. Tactical nuclear weapons, sure, yeah. Thermobaric, some monster. Can you? And what happens then? The world is on alert. Why? To hand President Trump problem after problem after problem. And he's ready to go. And who is going to be deciding this, theoretically? Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth. Okay? Now think about this. Now that may be okay with you, but think about this. If this happens, first of all, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth. And what are they going to say? Well, who do they go after? If it happens, if Putin says, like I told you, I'm going to protect myself, what happens then? When I tell you, my friends, that there is stuff happening, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I didn't mention the dock strike. I didn't mention other things. Anything that goes wrong, anything sets this chain reaction. And when there's a chain reaction, things get scary. Pay attention. Go to preparewithlionel.com. I'm telling you right now. And it's not just about emergency food, that's it. But it's water, water filtration, water systems, biomass, stoves, for you to handle in the event and forget Russia, but you should think about this, but just weather. Going a week, 2 weeks with enough food to do 2,000 calories a day and diverse enough where you're not pulling your hair out, eating banana chips and jerky. Preparewithlionel.com. Nobody's going to make you go there. Nobody, there's no law. You don't have to do it. Nobody's going to knock on your door and say, excuse me, we're here to make sure you have the provision. No. But do yourself a favor and act now. And while we're on this subject, like I told you, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. That's our friend Mike Lindell. And Christmas time, think about this, is next month. A month and a week away. Can you believe this? mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Now, my friends, this stuff should scare the hell out of you. Rich Mountains, thank you, as a new member. Thank you, Rich Mountains. Rich Martin, there you go. Thank you so much. Linda Hazlitt, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for many lessons. Brilliant. Thank you. This episode is absolutely gold. Thank you as well. But also, please, one more time, it's this. I'm going to do this one more time. It is this It is Professor Sachs in the story of 1999 when they went to Mikhail Gorbachev. They were trying to reunify the East after World War II, and they said, if you bring down this wall, if you work with us, we promise you we will not take one step east. Don't worry about this. And he said, are you sure? They said, NATO will not move anywhere near your border. James Baker did it. And the first one to double cross, you've got to watch this. And for years they said, no, that never happened because Gorbachev, later on, he said, well, they made the agreement. They said, well, no, we didn't. We said, well, I didn't get it in writing because I believed you. Well, and a lot of the Russians were pissed off at Gorbachev because he was very weak. In any event, they found the minutes of the meeting. George Washington University has this is it. And this started with Bill Clinton and with NATO. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention. Now, I want to show you something which, again, a little good news, but something that I want to just for a moment, just to take a breather, to show you there's some good stuff out there. My friends, I want to get back to a time when we take our kids and we throw them around and knock them around and basically have them act like kids. When you were a kid, would you not have loved this? Would you not have loved to be good? What was the father? Maybe I'm happy, but I'm just a trouble there. This is what big means. Okay, enough of that. I want to bring back playtime for kids. I want kids to have fun again. Evan Webb, by the way, says the Biden administration is still trying to heat things up. It is madness. And they turned off cable TV in 2014. I want you to understand something. Did you see all of the people that I had? All of the people, the left, the young turds, Anna Emphysema, Junk Yogurt, Lindsey Graham. Why are they all saying the same thing? And it's very, very simple, my friends. Very, very simple. You see, America loves the bad guy. We love the bad guy. We love it. William Shatner, at the age of 93, told Bill Maher that he supported Harris and can't understand how she lost. He just alienated some of his fans. Could be. Johnny Maz. That could be. I don't recognize that. I don't talk about that. Whoopi Goldberg is going to get the biggest defamation suit. I mean, they're going to break it off on her, which is going to be good to watch. But let me go back to this. I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to follow, like I told you, Professor Mearsheimer. Scott Ritter is superb, explaining tactical weapons, how far they go. Ritter is so good because he explains, well, remember THAAD missile systems and now ATACMS, and sounds like Steakums or something, but you need these people to actually go and provide the cryptographic messaging. And Putin says, those are Americans firing into us. Be not mistaken. If we provide a weapon system to Ukraine, or whatever we call them this week, and we are absolutely the most important, how do we say this? If we are there and you have American troops, American officers, American technology at this scene, at this place, at this locale, aiming missiles at Russia, providing the equipment, providing there's no way you're going to train anybody. They have to do it. So we're going to have Americans shooting into Russia. What do you think Russia is going to do about that? I hope President Trump picks up the phone directly. Remember, he's not the president yet, but I think there's a little bit of leeway. And tell Vlad, hold on. And Vlad says, you wouldn't put up with this. If somebody somewhere, let's say south of the border in Mexico, there was a Mexican, the Sinaloa cartel sets up this ATACMS system. And it's run by, of all people, believe it or not, Chinese officers, Chinese soldiers, Chinese technologists, Chinese armorers, Chinese weapon systems, China. If this happens, do you have any clue? What do you think we would say to China? What? Any idea? What? What would we say to China? What? Do you think we'd say, well, that's technically, no, we would say, all right, China, this one's for you. My friends, this is happening. This is called realism. This is what you better be worried about, seriously worried about. This is not a joke. And there are people who are so upset with Trump, they don't care. Victoria Nuland doesn't give a shit. The Institute for the Study of War, General Keane, all those people on Fox News. Fox News is the enemy. How do I tell you this? Let me ask you something. What's worse? Your wife has an affair on you, or your wife has an affair with your best friend, or your wife has an affair with your brother? It's all the same, isn't it? No, it's not. There's levels of treachery. That's what this is. What makes Fox News worse is they're luring you into this. They tell you, we're your friends. We're on your side. 80% of it, you say, okay. It's what they keep from you. Do you know? I want you to spend some time today. And I want you to go on X, which is fabulous. And I want you, by the way, follow me at Lionel Media on tech. And I want you to hear Joe Scarborough talking to Bobby Kennedy Jr. years ago. When Joe Scarborough says, my son or my child has Asperger's. They used to call it Asperger's. Now they call it spectrum disorder or something. And the Asperger's people got very upset. I heard somebody do a terrible joke one time. He says, whenever there's an app, he gets it. He has Asperger's, which is not funny. So he is talking to Bobby Kennedy. No problem. And Bobby Kennedy says, well, it's not necessarily the vaccines, but we had maybe, 10, and now people have 10 the first days. They also had thimerosal concerns and blah, 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 blah. Joe Scarborough was interested because his son was on the spectrum. Robert De Niro, remember Robert De Niro? Robert De Niro said, his son was on the spectrum. And he had that one controversial movie about vaccines or whatever. He changed his mind. Do you not see what's happening here? We can talk about seed oil so the cows come home. You love this seed oil stuff, but nobody can talk about vaccine. Why not? I don't know anything about them, but I want everybody to talk about them. I don't know about red dye number 5, but I want everybody to talk about them. Let me say this again. I know nothing about it. And I know many of you people say, oh, I know. No, you don't. You have reasons to believe, and you might, but we really don't know. But either way, I want to live in a country where we're able to say what we want. Do you understand what's happening right now? Do you think anybody on Fox News is talking about that? No. Is anybody on Fox News telling you anything about the realities of Gaza or Palestine? No. Is anybody on Fox? No. 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 Is anybody telling you the reality about Putin and Ukraine? No. Is anybody telling you that Bobby Kennedy does not? They're making him out to be an idiot because you've got these, as you call them, rhinos, but these Karl Rove types who hate the idea of him. No. You see, Sparky, this is why it's over. Because there was so much of us that they never knew were there. In the old days, nobody knew, like my good friend, I have a friend named Vinny. And Vinny one time says, don't forget, we can drown them in our urine. When hip hop came about, people said, that's crap. Who was it? Greg Allman said, rap is short for crap. Until they realized, do you know how many black young people there are? Watch what happens. And all of a sudden, rap became it. The same thing with this. They don't understand it. Joe Rogan just told them, I'm in charge. Joe Rogan's talking about this. We're talking about this. There are people asking themselves, why can't you say anything about vaccines or abortion or Israel or Ukraine? Or why can't we? Can you think of a reason for this? No. It's all changing. It's all changing. And please watch the Jeffrey Sachs interview one more time. Let me just give you this piece here. This is it. This is the most incredible thing in the world. This one, because let me see. This is one of the best. Oh, yes. I want to give you this one little thing on this, just as a little bit of an amuse-bouche. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but it's pretty long. But I want you to hear this. All right, listen to this carefully. Okay, watch this. I want you to hear this. Okay, I want you to hear this very, very carefully. But as I dig this up, because I wasn't going to play it, but I am now, I want you to listen to our final word from our final great sponsor for people who are absolutely drowning in debt. Listen to this. New reports reveal that the average person has $8,674 in credit card debt. Plus, the total average consumer debt is a shocking $104,215 between mortgages, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, and unsecured loans. Unfortunately, without outside assistance, many will continue digging themselves deeper and deeper into the hole of debt. Now, I've advised and counseled friends and clients for years who want to take back control of individual debt about this secret weapon that has helped so many consolidate everything owed into one affordable monthly payment. They even help negotiate a settlement agreement that will allow you to pay less than the total balance. Listen, they settled over $275 million in debt, and they've helped people become debt-free in an average of 28 months. I've had such an incredible experience referring clients and friends that I wanted to partner with them here and introduce their services to my loyal Lionel Nation family. If you want a helping hand to get out of debt, I absolutely, positively, and strenuously recommend booking a free consultation now by going to nodebtwithlionel.com. Look at the address. Once again, that's nodebtwithlionel.com. Use the link I've provided under the title. Listen to me. You can take control and learn how to get out of debt now. Okay, watch this very, very carefully. Watch this. It's very let's see how far we can go. This one is absolutely, this is what you should memorize. You should actually watch this over, listen to it, memorize it, learn the routine, learn the dates, learn it. This is the greatest overview that you will ever hear on NBC, ABC, Fox, MSDNC, CNN. You will never hear this on Fox. You will never hear Hannity or Levin or anyone ever say this. Maybe under the Trump administration. Here we go.
This is not an attack by Putin on Ukraine in the way that we are told every day.
Wow.
This started in 1990.
Listen.
February 9th, 1990. James Baker III, our Secretary of State, said to Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward.
Listen, remember that.
You agree to German unification.
That's all they could. NATO will not move 1 foot eastward. 1. And Mikhail Gorbachev never got it in writing. Never made. In fact, like I told you, they said, we never said that. Oh, yes. The minutes were at George Washington University. They found it. We made him a promise and we double crossed him.
Basically ending World War II. And Gorbachev said that's very important. Yes, NATO doesn't move and we agreed to German unification. The U.S. then cheated on this already starting in 1994 when Clinton signed off on basically a plan to expand NATO all the way to Ukraine. This is
right directly in opposition to what they said. Gets better.
When the so-called neocons took power.
Yep.
And Clinton was the first agent of this. And the expansion of NATO started in 1999 with Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. At that point, Russia...
This is Poland, Hungary, and Czech Republic. Boom, 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 boom. Immediately. And they said, whoa, wait a minute. What are you doing? Why is there a NATO? We've dissolved the Soviet Union. NATO was to protect the world from the Soviet Union. There is no Soviet Union. What are you doing?
Russia didn't much care. There was no border other than with the Königsberg, but other than that, there was no direct threat. Then the U.S. led the bombing of Serbia in 1999. That was bad, by the way, because that was a use of NATO to bomb a European capital, Belgrade, 78 straight days to break the country apart. The Russians didn't like that very much.
78 straight days. Why? Well, you heard why. Was there a declaration of war? No. Did Congress declare war? No.
But Putin became president. They swallowed it. They complained. But even Putin started out pro-European, pro-American, actually. He asked maybe we should join NATO. When there was still the idea of some kind of mutually respectful relationship.
They asked him, Putin asked, can we join NATO? Get the hell out of here. He goes, well, there's no more Soviet Union. Oh, I forgot to tell you something. Please, before I forget. They're weird about this. This is what a bunch of pathological liars we are. When Gorbachev said, wait a minute, you folks said you wouldn't move 1 foot eastward. You're lying. You know what we said? No, we made an agreement with the Soviet Union. There is no Soviet Union anymore. Can you believe that bullshit? They actually said this. And Putin said, Gorbachev said, oh, come on. You mean you're going back on your word? We never made a promise with you. We made a promise with the Soviet Union. And once it dissolved, once it evaporated, once it disintegrated, the deal's off. So Putin later on, being smart, said, well, since there's no Soviet Union, can Russia join NATO? No. Can Russia join the EU? No. See how that works? Oh, we are the worst.
Then 9/11 came. Then came Afghanistan, and the Russians said, yeah, we'll support you. We understand to root out terror. But then came...
Let me tell you one thing, not to interrupt, but I am. After 9/11, the first person on the phone was Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin said, listen, I can help you because I know people in the Caucasus. I know who these people are. Remember Speed Bump and Flashbang? Remember the Tsarnaev brothers? Putin said, I'm telling you, they're on their way. He knew this. This is when the Caucasus broke. But we could, shut up. Also, they had a candlelight vigil in Tehran. The Iranians were for us. They were our pals. We don't want them as friends. No. See how we work? Isn't our country great? Aren't you proud? Huh?
Two other decisive actions. In 2002, the United States unilaterally walked out of the anti-ballistic missile treaty. This was probably the most decisive event, never discussed in this context. But what it did was trigger the U.S. putting in missile systems in Eastern Europe that Russia views as a dire, direct.
Duh.
In 2004-5, we engaged in a soft regime change operation in Ukraine.
Yep.
But in 2009, Yanukovych won the election and he became president, and in 2010 on the basis of neutrality for Ukraine.
This is critical. Yanukovych, remember him? Until Victoria Nuland came in and said, "Oh no, it gets better."
That calmed things down because the U.S. was pushing NATO, but the people of Ukraine on the opinion polls didn't even want to be in NATO. They knew that the country is divided between ethnic Ukrainian, ethnic Russian. What do we want with this? We want to stay away from your problems. So in February 22nd, 2014, the United States participated actively in the overthrow of Yanukovych.
Watch.
A typical U.S. regime change operation. Have no doubt about it. And the Russians did us a favor. They intercepted a really ugly call between Victoria Nuland.
Remember this one? Remember that one? Oh, it was brutal.
My colleague at Columbia University now, between her and the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Plea, who's a senior State Department official till today. And they talked about regime change. They said, who's going to be the next government? All of this is to say, the U.S. then said, okay, now NATO's really going to enlarge. And Putin kept saying, stop. You promised no NATO enlargement. It's been, by the way, I forgot to mention.
You promised the Soviet Union. We actually said that. Remember this.
2004, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, 7 more countries in the not 1 inch eastward. And then, okay, it's a long story, but the U.S. kept rejecting the basic idea, don't expand NATO to Russia's border in a context where we're putting in goddamn missile systems. After breaking a treaty, 2019, we walked out of the Intermediate Nuclear Force Treaty.
Another one.
On December 15th, 2021, Putin put on the table.
Now pay attention carefully.
A draft Russia-U.S. security agreement. You can find it online. The basis of it is no NATO enlargement.
Yes.
I called the White House that next week after that, begging them, take the negotiations. Putin's offered something, avoid this war. Oh, Jeff, there's not going to be a war. Announce that NATO's not going to enlarge. Oh, don't worry, NATO's not going to enlarge. I said, oh, you're going to have a war over something that's not going to happen? Why don't you announce it? And he said, no, our policy is an open door. This is Jake Sullivan. Our policy is an open door policy. Open door for NATO enlargement.
Yep.
That is under the category of bullshit, by the way. You don't have your right to put your military bases anywhere you want and expect peace in this world. They turned down the negotiations. Then the special military operation started. And 5 days later,
by the way, that's what they call the war. This is the invasion. You heard that one? Yeah, Putin invaded. He invaded. Did you hear the setup? They're on his border. Ukraine is right there. They're saying, you're going to be a member of NATO. And they're saying any day now. Putin says, the hell with this. We would have done. I'm surprised he waited that long.
Zelensky says, okay, neutrality. And then the United States and
there's Bojo, Boris Johnson.
Britain said, no way. You guys fight on.
They had a deal, and Boris Johnson screwed it up. Well, deliberately stopped it. Zelensky, remember the line he said, we got your back, but not your front.
We got your back. We don't have your front. You're all going to die. But we got your back as we kept pushing them into the front lines. That's 600,000 deaths now of Ukrainians since Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv to tell them to be brave.
Isn't that something? Now, let me ask you, you're going to hear this on MSDNC? No. And let me also say this. Are you going to hear this on Fox? No. Is General Keane going to tell you this? No. Is Pete Hegseth going to tell you this? I don't know. If Trump says so. Trump's smarter than this. He understands it because the very people who tried to kill him are responsible for this. This is a part of the shadow government. This is an existential threat. We are in the fight for our lives, my friend. This is why Meager and these other people are absolutely out of their minds. No more Crazy Lady show, right? Not even saying the name, not sharing these loons. Thanks, Lenny. Have a great evening. Thank you, Evan. It's now, just when you think you've got those people to worry about, guess who's not far behind?
Basically, two ways to help with cows. Cows are about 5% of global emissions.
He's talking about not cow farts. He's talking about cow eructations, borborygmus, belching, upchucks, not flatus. The methane is from the belching. This is what this man is important. Look at these two rubes. Look at this. Because he wants to, remember, he never says anything to benefit us. It will benefit. He's buying, land to eliminate cattle or to eliminate beef, or I don't know. But listen to him.
Yeah, so there's basically two ways to help with cows. Cows are about 5% of global emissions, 5%. Which is pretty unbelievable. And if your goal is to get to zero, you don't get to skip the cows or the steel or the cement or, any of those big areas. So there's a whole class of solutions of making meat without cows.
Okay, now listen, let me explain something, okay? Let me explain something. I, like many of you, let me rephrase it. I, unlike many of you, when something doesn't matter to you, you don't care. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch cable. I don't listen to that music. I don't have Facebook. That's the way you think. You think, well, if it doesn't matter to me, I don't care. I don't eat meat or cows or whatever. So theoretically, using that argument, I would say to you, oh, I don't care about that, but I do care about that. And it's not because I'm worried about cow belching or hamburger. That's not the point. The question is, who is this interloper? Why is he given so much time? And can people see through him? And is he or is he not violating some version of a scientific Logan Act? You can laugh all you want, but there are people who think he's serious. Let me tell you something. Another reason why I talk about this, I'm not telling you just for commercial reasons. When I've told you about this preparewithlionel.com a million times, they're coming after food. They're going to screw things up. They want to, there are people who are saying, oh, we're not going away. But if they can create people, generations of young people, to believe that meat and burgers and all this are bad, and there are things you got to watch out. But cow belching and methane, we are under such attack, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as I told you before, and I want you to listen, are we Republicans? No. Are we conservatives? No. Are we Democrats? Oh, no. Do we have a place where we go? Yes. Where we can talk about this? Yes. I was watching some of the best moments of Alex Jones. And by the way, it seems like he's back on. This is kind of a ruse. I don't know how they're going to do it or what they're going to, but he's not going anywhere. It is absolutely, positively incredible what he has done. Have you heard a fellow by the name of Greg Reese? Alex has a thing called band.video. Have you seen this? You know, Corbett does a wonderful job. Oh, Corbett did a piece we saw. It's incredible. Check out Greg Reese on band.video. Incredible. Incredible. I want you to go also to this YouTube. You're going to love this one. This is one of my favorites. It's called Illuminati Bot. Conventional spelling and then B-O-T at the end. It is some of the greatest stuff that will blow your mind. It takes everything that we've been given and it inverts it. Because what you are doing is you are being told a lie after a lie after a lie. And God bless President Trump. Because the only chance we have from anybody is him. And I would love to sit with him and say, you know, Mr. President, I always love to do this movie where I'm this person. Look at this. The Pilgrim says the Russian have an ancient honor code, misunderstood. The Russians. I want to tell the president, you don't know me. I don't want to come to the White House. I don't want to be seen with you. I don't want to be. But I'm going to tell you, and we're going to fill you in on who's who and what the story is. And there are more people who believe exactly, from UFOs to cancer to whatever it is. And what we're seeing right now is one of the biggest changes. People are talking about this. People are recognizing this. And this is Jeffrey Sachs. And where do you hear him all the time? Judge Napolitano. God bless that man. God bless him. He has a series of folks, and he is brutal on Israel. Listen if you want. Not on Israel, the people, Israel, the country, Israel, the government, Israel, the current iteration of this. You're going to get your hands dirty. Things that you thought about. You want to talk about abortion? You got to talk about Margaret Sanger. You got to talk about depopulation. You got to talk about eugenics. You want to get your hands dirty? You want to talk about 9/11? We'll do that. I have heard more discussion on vaccine safety in the past week than I have in the past 5 years. Think about that. We are on the cusp of a revolution of ideas, of thoughts, and this bravery of being able to confront and question everything. There's no such thing unless you test it. You would never buy a diamond unless it has a certificate. You would never have anything. When you want to marry someone, you have to test them. You have to make sure you know what you're doing. When you believe in something, you have to test it. When you involve yourself in a faith, in a religious system, in a mindset, you have to test it. When you start taking medication, you have to understand. You have to test. These are things, and the world, my friend, is awash in some of the most fantastic stories that are here that so many of us know. And we've been wanting to tell you, but we've been kept down for the long time. And they're fascinating. Somebody mentioned Roswell. Roswell's not even that's a part of the issue. We have to live in a world where we get to ask and involve ourselves in anything. The current iteration of world government under the shadow government wants to shut you down. And any UKers here, that, my friend, that is the beta tester. That's ground zero. That's what they're doing there by going after memes on it's hysterical. Anyway, the point is, we are a part of a revolution. And the pathetic Joe and Mika schlepping to Mar-a-Lago to beg President Trump to forgive them is one of the funniest things I have ever seen. It is absolutely delicious. And it goes to show you, yet again, how sad these people are. It's wonderful. It's better than anything you can imagine. And the only thing is, remember, the only thing I want to tell you, which is critical, is that unless you know the truth, I can't help you. Unless you have a radio, I can't explain radio waves to you. Unless you have the ability to decipher it, I'm wasting my time. And unless I am able to talk to you about everything, and I don't have a government or world government telling me, don't talk about this because this particular financial sector is making billions and billions of dollars. And if you say something in a popular forum that would make many people think that maybe this isn't the right thing to do, or that people should be held liable for untested, unvalidated, and unverified substances that are forced into your system, the best thing you do is to shut people down. And right now, I promise you, the reason why the Meagers and all those people that I showed you, from Anna Emphysema to the Young Turds to Lindsey Graham to Hannity, they're all in this. They're all in this together, brother. They're a part of the same thing. I can tell them, send this now. Bobby Kennedy, do it. Code blue, Bobby Kennedy. Code red, okay. Trash him. Trash him. He's got a worm in his brain. He left the bear carcass. His wife committed suicide. He's a heroin addict. Got it. And they jump on him like that. They just jump. It's the most incredible thing in the world. They just jump. Anybody they pick. He's Alex Jones, crazy. Alex Jones is one of the sanest people. I hate to say it. Oh, he yells and screams. He does. Joel Osteen looks like a little twit, crying and singing about Jesus. Nobody questions him. You don't think he's crazy? You don't think he looks like a lunatic? You don't think Lindsey Graham comes across? Would you leave your kid with Lindsey Graham if he says, "Listen, I got to go to work"? Can you watch me? Would you let Lindsey Graham near your kid? That's the creepiest guy. And Alex Jones is crazy. Lindsey Graham, I think, is the weirdest person I've ever seen. I don't understand how this thing works. Where does this come from? They're ready to jump on anybody they don't like. And my friends, you see this? This is my. Can you see this? This is my silver coin. This is my Donald Trump coin. See that? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Look at that toy. Look at that. Okay. You see this? On this side, I've got him. On this side, what do I have? I got the flag and all that kind of stuff. Two sides of the same coin. left, right, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. Artificial barriers to give you the impression that there's this symphony of speech and ideas, that there are two countervailing, antipodal ideas, syzygies, countervailing, opposite, different, right? No, they're the same. Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi. Burger King, McDonald's, you might think they're that different. Maybe, not really. It's the same. And you've been told this your whole life. And your parents and your grandparents and the world you grew up, you never saw it like this. But you're seeing it now. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to crush, destroy, absolutely take charge of our information systems, number one. Number two, with the exception of somebody committing a libel or some type of horrible behavior. By the way, under the Brandenburg Supreme Court case, inciting something must be done if there is if what you're saying is reasonably connected with inciting immediate tumultuous or violent reaction. It's got to. It can't be you're saying something that's just crazy. It's got to be, let's do this now. Let's storm the Bastille, storm the jail. Let's go in and get that guy and string him up. That's incitement. That's a different story. So this idea that, well, these words are misinformation. So what? Whose misinformation? What does that even mean? Some of the best things are possible. Let me ask you something. If I asked, if I had a Jew, a Muslim, an atheist, a Buddhist, a Hindu, and I said, listen, is Jesus the Son of God? You know what they would say? No. No. Is that misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, data information? Is it a lie? What is that? What would you call that? Evan Webb says we have to not do what the world has always fallen into. The worst is what seems expected. For cash, power, madness. Maybe Trump will slow it down. Maybe just the idea of just allowing us to be ourselves. Now, if I tell you, have you ever met Jews for Jesus? I give this as an example. Is that correct? Is that not correct? A Jew would tell you, no, I don't think Jesus is the Son of God, nor would a Muslim. No, he might be a prophet. So who's right and who's wrong? My friend, the world is nothing but it's confusion. They're arguing left and right. They actually had the unmitigated audacity to come forward and say this is misinformation and that they were going to shut you down and shut your ability to speak down. We're not going to put up with it. We're not going to have it anymore. This is the revolution. This is like something you've never seen before. This is something which I want everybody to understand how great this is. All right, my friends, that is it. An hour and 33 minutes of this absolute. Wasn't that Jeffrey Sachs piece? Just watch it again. I could watch it forever. Evan Webb and Pilgrim Media, thank you. Johnny Mazza Spaz, thank you. M. Linda Hazlitt, thank you. Rich Mountain, Sparky, you the man. DB, Freedom, and you. And thank you for this. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Make sure also that you subscribe to Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Incredible new stuff on Diddy today. She's covering that. Please watch this. And thank you. Thank you for thinking. I want you to think about this. I want every day. I don't care if you know something different. I want you to think differently. Not know something. I want you to think differently. I want critical thinking. I want your ability to evaluate and analyze it. I did not know that. That's exactly what I want. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. See you tomorrow. Don't ever change. I mean that. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dead.